David, any thoughts on the local fentanyl problem here in America? Obviously, there's problems in Europe as well with the poor man cocaine that's coming in via the Middle East.
The drugs keep getting cheaper and more deadly. It's interesting. I saw an interview of it happened to be a black man who sold drugs. He had his face kind of covered, and he said, like in my day, you didn't want to have anybody overdose because they were a customer. This guy said, "Oh, when we have a hot sale out there and people die, man, it triples, doubles the business." So apparently people have death wish. It's a culture of death that has come upon America, from the suicides to the doing of drugs to just the hopelessness that we're seeing in young people. The Bidenomics are destroying young people's lives through inflation, which inflation's getting ready to go back up again, as even though they've raised the interest rates up as much as they can, believing this is how you solve inflation. At the same time, to cause inflation, Russia and Saudi Arabia turned the spigots off, which has raised the price of gas up again, and so everything's going to get more expensive. There's video out there of young people just freaking out because they can't make it. They've got a hopelessness, and when you have, because they don't have Jesus Christ and all they have is this world, and they saw a world that just a few years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, there seemed like there was hope. But now there's just a sense of hopelessness among young people. They can't afford rent, can't afford even working in some instances because they get better benefits from the government if they don't. So the world is upside down, and for young people, I understand why they're doing suicide. I mean, at least during my generation, we had a revival and people had a hope, and we were able to live this hope out, but through Jesus Christ. But now the only hopelessness they've got, it's breaking, it's heartbreaking when you see what's going on. They're having a food crisis with rice in the Far East. The price of it's going up. There's a shortage. So that's a staple in much of Asia. And
yeah, we'll come back to the economic problems, David. We'll come back to the economic problems.
Okay, sorry.
But the connection with the demonic, I know Jacob was just here.
Oh, yeah.
Not too much about it, but the occult, he didn't, I don't know if he remembered it, but the occult practices within the societies, within Europe, within America, you have satanic clubs for kids. And this is open. They want to have as much liberty as Christians had liberty because they say they're a religion and a philosophy. So demon summoning.
I saw that, and I saw it advertised in Salem, Oregon.
Oh man!
I mean, advertisements. Learn how to do it, and I've seen other advertisements where you can bring and have family. It's family night out to summon demons.
Well, we used to have, ice cream night and a family movie.
Yeah.
Now we have so many demons. I mean,
yeah.
Is it a surprise that society is this far gone and young people are so succumbed to depression and mental illness, where you have a spiritual vacuum in the church, but then you have the occult right in the middle of society?
And openly people are, saying, "Hail Satan," over and over. They're actually calling for his time to actually come. And well, he is coming.
So David, what do you think it's the aftermath of this? I mean, things don't happen in a vacuum. Obviously, things have led up to this point, but things are not just benign and they're going to go away. What is as you look down, what is the next level where this could go?
Further and further de-evolution of our society. I mean, Paul says in the last days, difficult times, and he describes the people that we're actually seeing now. You know, you see all these things, a lot of them in California, of these flash mobs going in and robbing stores blind of hundreds of thousands of dollars. 150-year-old store is going to quit San Francisco. So you're going to see more and more intensity as people, one of the things is people will be without self-control, incontinent, and they'll just be out there just running mad in the streets, and you'll see violence increase. And these are the things that Paul talked about, but it's also what Jesus talked about. So there will get even more. Sexual perversion is rising. We saw last week, we talked a little bit about, even the UN says that we're going to get rid of Christians if they don't accept pedophilia. So this is where the whole world is going. It's spiraling downwards.
Yeah.
And Christians, I encourage you to get ready. Just examine yourself see that you're in Christ Jesus, and look at the signs of the day. Compare them to other signs that are around you. Just keep comparing and looking. Is this what Jesus told us in advance would happen, so that we would know who he is? And that's important for us to understand.
Yeah, I wanted to go to Jay real quick. Jay, it's also in the media. It's also in entertainment. It's also what people watch, from TikTok to social media, the demonic aspect, the occult aspect, but also just give up on life, don't have children, live for yourself, work for this job and have no children. That's being glorified now, when it used to be that the family was the center and I guess the culmination of a life was to have a heritage and to have children. But now young people don't have that, which it involves the depression and the mental illness, plus the demonic aspect in culture and movies. How do you see it? What's your take?
In a sane and rational world, you base your budget upon an income of the taxes you get from families. And unfortunately, we are completely off the farm in that respect. We spend, and all the world's governments are spending now in such ways that there is no sense of reality. That's why there is despair, because there can't be hope as long as governments can basically make wealth from air.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing. They're making it from air. And what's more, they're investing in things like green energy, which is, we want to get there, but we're not there. So why do you push something that's not there? Why do you keep hindering prosperity to people? On what basis do you do that? And I think the most demonic side of it is this system that we're building. There is no hope, because the things that you had when you had a family, you had a future. You wanted to see them get married. You wanted to see your grandchildren. You wanted to see the perpetuation of the people you cared about. But as people are going into selfishness, let's call it, and just focusing on a career, all of a sudden there is no hope, because once you're gone, you're not going to care anymore. There's a nihilistic spirit on back of today, where it's like, yeah, I don't care about anything. I'm just going to take mine and forget what happens for the future. And we as believers, we can't do that. We want to see that our faith is perpetuated. We want to make sure that people are discipled. And yet people today, the young folks in particular, all they want is to make sure that they have enough of, really, it's fun and entertainment.
Yeah.
And there's a ready supply waiting for them that makes them want more.
Yeah. So illicit sex, no consequences of it, abortion, and plenty of drugs, nihilism, basically, and no spirituality, because they can't find any true sense of spirituality. As David was pointed out, a remnant and God's spirit being poured out it's what we need, but it may be a small remnant, smaller than we actually think. I want to move to the economic side of it, because we touched on it.
Can I do one last thing there, Marco? Just one little thing.
Quickly, because we got to move on.
There was a guy that wrote a volume epic of the history of civilization. And when he finally was ready to publish, they held a press conference, and he was asked by a reporter, is there anything common to civilizations to show that they're broken and they're falling? And he said, oh yes. And he said 4 things: the rise of homosexuality, violence in the society is normal, the breakdown in the family, and the corruption of government. He said they're irretrievably broken.